We begin at this hour with a piece of delicious news. Very, very delicious. So, Cenk Uygur is the founder of a group called the Young Turks. It's a show that's been promoted by YouTube. They funded it. Cenk's channel has been very popular for a long time. If you ever want to see a video of me debating Cenk, I debated him at Politicon maybe 3 years ago. Anyway, Cenk is a far-left dude. He's running for Congress in the old seat that Katie Hill occupied, the woman who just had to step down for apparently engaging in a corrupt menage a trois with one of her staffers. Well, now he is running for the Democratic nomination for that seat. He endorsed Bernie, then Bernie endorsed him back. Then it turned out that Cenk had said a bunch of stuff that people found offensive, so Bernie promptly threw Cenk overboard. Well, Cenk has made his entire career off of being a wildly progressive voice, wildly progressive, spending his time on the evils of money and politics and the joys of unionization. Unfortunately for Cenk, he operates a business. And that led to this delicious little scenario today, according to the Huffington Post. Top leadership at the progressive news network, the Young Turks, held an all-staff meeting at its office in Culver City, California on February 12th. The regularly scheduled gathering was supposed to deal with personnel matters, but instead, the focus turned to the staff's nascent union campaign, which had just gone public. Earlier that day, a Twitter handle claiming to represent Young Turks employees had announced on the social media platform their intention to form a union. In the staff meeting, the network's co-founder and influential host, Cenk Uygur, urged employees not to do so, arguing that a union does not belong at a small independent outlet like the Young Turks, according to two workers who were present. He said if there had been a union at the network, it would not have grown the way it has. Oh, my God. Oh, that's delicious. That's some solid stuff. Just straight into my veins, man. Straight into the veins. I'm going to mainline this stuff. The beauty of a person like Cenk, who spent his entire career basically railing against employers for not being kind enough to employees. He's a Bernie Sanders guy, and Bernie spends his entire life, unions have to take over the corporations. Half of corporations have to be represented by the workers. Otherwise, it's not true. It's corrupt. Otherwise, it's evil. It's exploitation. And here's Cenk going, yeah, well, here's the thing now. Here's the thing. If we unionize, we're going to go bankrupt. It's like, oh, welcome to the Republican Party, Cenk Uygur. His talk, at times emotional, the staffer said, with Uygur throwing his papers to the ground at one point and chastising an employee. Seemed to contradict the progressive worker-first ethos that the Young Turks broadcast to its millions of lefty followers. Jack Gerard, acting as the company's chief operating officer as Uygur runs for Congress, told the staff they were not discouraging unionization. But the message from Uygur was clear and to at least some of the staffers discouraging. We generally feel disappointed but unshaken, said one staffer who spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation. We feel it's the right thing to do because of what the Young Turks values. In an interview with Huffington Post, Uygur said he's a strong supporter of unions, especially at large corporations that aren't sharing profits with their workers. But he says he worries a unionized workforce would bring new legal and bureaucratic costs that the Young Turks can't sustain. By the way, the Young Turks, very successful, like millions and millions and millions of dollars in revenue every year. The network has a growing subscription base and has raised enormous venture capital money, but many of the same headwinds as other online media dealing with the collapse of ad revenue. The reality is we're in a precarious position, said Uygur. We're in a digital media landscape where almost no one makes money or is sustainable. He added, for a smaller digital media company, those are absolutely real considerations. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have a union. Everyone should know the full context. If folks say they don't believe we're in a precarious position, okay, and that's their decision to make. So he's saying, I, the employer, am not out to screw my employees. I'm here to run a successful business, and that means you can't unionize against me because that's going to lead to additional costs, and then I may have to fire some people. But everybody else should unionize, and if you don't unionize, it's because you're corrupt and evil. Cenk Uygur. Uygur said he was caught off guard by the union effort that appeared on Twitter the day of the meeting, and that it was so early in the process he wasn't sure if it was real or if he was being punked. He acknowledged that he threw papers in the meeting and that he reprimanded an employee whom he believed to be smiling. According to staffers, Uygur said it would be funny later, and an ominous statement they found unsettling. He told Huffington Post it wasn't meant to be a threat. He said the person seemed to be openly mocking the idea that the company might not survive after 18 years, and we put all this blood, sweat, and tears into it. I don't find the idea of us going down funny. Welcome to being an employer, Cenk Uygur. Welcome to the business world, Cenk Uygur. Welcome to capitalism, Cenk Uygur, where you're trying to run a successful business. And it turns out that bullcrap, like unionizing employees who demand things that are not sustainable, will wreck your business. But he's supporting Bernie, who wants to forcibly unionize half the American workforce. It's unbelievable and wonderful. The campaign at TYT comes with another wrinkle: Uyghur's attempt to fill the congressional seat vacated by former Representative Katie Hill. Uyghur is running to the left in the Democratic primary. The frontrunner, Christy Smith, a California assemblywoman, has the backing of the party establishment and many labor unions. As the union spat became more public, Uygur suggested on Twitter that the union campaign was politically motivated by the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, the union trying to organize TYT. They've already endorsed Smith in the race. But staffers say, no, we've been trying to unionize for 2 years. Unbelievable. It's just spectacular. He says, at the end of the day, my opinion on it is irrelevant. It's the employees who get to decide and who should decide. So he's saying they should decide, but also I'm going to tell them that if they decide and we go under, then it's their fault. Just spectacular. Just spectacular. And well earned. It's always fun when capitalism and reality come back to bite socialists directly on their posteriors. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on all of our future content.